Just a few months ago, I bought this wrecked 2011 R1, which still looks like a wreck, but we've made a ton of progress since. I picked up this R1 as a complete wreck. It was listed as a non-runner, so it didn't even start. This looks like it was involved in a front collision. We don't have anything in the front here actually. The front stay bracket broke off. The headlight was completely shattered. The handlebar completely broke off the bike. The tank was dented and scratched. The exhaust was damaged, and the list went on and on and on. Amongst all of that, the stator cover was shattered and I found little pieces in the engine. I managed to get all of the metal pieces out of the engine and started the bike for the very first time. Okay, let's go. I even took it out for its very first test ride. Nice. Okay, R1. Now it's time to wrap it up, but there's a few little things I want to sort out before we start dressing this bike up. The first thing is going to be the stator cover, which had a tiny leak when we took out the bike for its first test ride. See a little drop here. See a speck of oil over here. So I went and I got the stator cover gasket from Yamaha. This should solve our leak. Before we get started, I'm going to lift up the bike on the X-Ramp paddock slider. This awesome accessory by X-Ramp allows me to not only move my bike back and forth on my paddock stand, but side to side as well. I want to send a massive shout out to X-Ramp for hooking me up. And if you guys also want one, I'll leave a link in the description. Now we can get to work on the stator cover. Once I've got it off, I can clean up the surface in preparation for the new gasket. It's always important to do this so the new gasket can go on nice and flush and seal up properly. I do this both on the engine casing and on the cover. Here's a look at the old gasket. And now the new one. Now we can put the brand new gasket on with both surfaces nice and smooth. This should seal up nice and good. Then I'm gonna put all 8 bolts on and tighten them up in a crisscross pattern. Then the last thing to do is to tighten them up to spec. New gasket is on, everything has been torqued up to spec, so we shouldn't have any more oil leaks from this cover over here. Now the next thing that I picked up from the test ride is we had a bit of a coolant leak from the top of this hose here. Yeah, things are, see here, there's coolant here, but this is probably maybe a loose hose here. Now because the coolant was leaking from the top and nowhere else around the hose, I suspect this clamp might have been loose, and when pressure was building up in the cooling system, it was seeping through this clamp and showing up at the top here. So I've tightened this up and hopefully we shouldn't have any more coolant leaking from over here. But I'll run the bike to temp and just check to make sure that nothing is leaking. And for some of you with a keen eye, I haven't forgotten to replace this bolt, guys. I'm gonna put a new one on a little bit later. Now the next thing I wanna do is sort out that rear wheel, because if you remember from the previous episode, that thing was wobbling, so I need to take it off and send it to get repaired. Then I wanna remove this tank so I can also send it off to get repaired over here and resprayed. The back wheel is coming off first, and I'm glad I've got the paddock slider so I can still move the bike around even without the wheel. Now I can move on to the tank. I'm going to remove the seat first, followed by the side covers, and then undo the front bolt holding the tank in place. I'm going to take off the fuel cap while the tank is on the bike just because it's a little bit easier. Once that's off, I can undo the last few bolts holding the tank in place. Then I can lift the tank up to remove the fuel line, the 2 fuel pump connectors, and the fuel overfill pipes. And the tank just comes right off. Now let's disassemble the tank. I'm going to remove the front cover first, which is held on by a couple of bolts. Then I'm going to move on to the fuel pump. First thing to come off is the fuel overfill pipes. Then I can undo the bolts holding the fuel pump onto the tank and then just pull it out while being careful not to damage anything. And then the last thing to remove is this tank pad. Alrighty guys, I've sent the wheel and the tank to get sorted out. So while I wait, I want to sort out a couple of things on the bike. First things first, I need to remove all the old plastics from the bike. That includes this broken tailpiece and the front fender. And then I want to clean up the inside of the bike while I've got everything off. I've got a couple of rusty bolts and I want to clean these up so they look nice and shiny. Just like this one that I fixed up. Alrighty guys, everything that I wanted to do has been sorted out. The bike is looking nice and clean. I mean, inside, everywhere. I'm never gonna have the opportunity to clean it the way I did with everything off, so I'm happy with that. And all those rusted bolts that were over there, guys, are looking so much better right now. I'm really happy with the way they came out. That wire wheel really came in handy and it literally worked like magic. And I'm glad I got all of that done because the tank and the wheel are back, guys. Well, I guess you guys now know what color fairings I'm going with. We've got this tank painted in a lovely black, and you guys won't be able to see this now, but it actually has some gold metallic, so when we put it on and we take the bike out in the sun, I'll show you guys, they glisten like crazy. And then we obviously got this side repaired. It had some scratches, it had a little bit of a dent, but all of that is sorted out. This thing is looking really nice. And then you guys will notice that I pretty much reassembled most of the fuel tank. We've got the fuel cap back on. I even put the fuel pump back on the tank. All I need to do now is put a tank pad that I got over here and some side grips for this tank. And now looking at the back wheel, this thing is nice and straight now, and I'm really happy with the work. The guys basically had to heat up the wheel so they can straighten it up, and because of that I had to get the wheel repainted because it had all sorts of heat scorings around the wheel. But now it's time to put these back on. I think I'm gonna start with the back wheel just because that's nice and easy, and then I'll move on to the tank along with all the accessories. Okay, time for this now straight back wheel to go back on, and hopefully for good. As easy as it is taking off the back wheel, it's sometimes a little bit finicky putting it back on. And that's because you need to put the chain on the sprocket, lift the wheel up, line up the axle, and also make sure that the rear brake rotor is sitting properly in between the brake pads. That's a lot of stuff to do. But now that we've got the wheel and the tank back on, I can start putting on the accessories. First one is the tank pad, then followed by the side tank grips. I love these because they really help you grip onto the bike without sliding back and forth. The way I put these on is I first line them up to see where I want them to go. Then I peel off a tiny piece on one edge, make sure that it's lined up properly, and then I can peel off the rest and stick it on for good. The wheel is on, tank is on, and man, I just can't get enough of that tank, guys. That black is just stunning. I love the way this thing looks, guys, especially with those accessories, the tank grips, the tank pad. I'm not really 100% sure about this one. I might change it out, but for now, guys, this thing is looking really nice. It's definitely starting to look like a bike now, guys. It's almost time to slap on the fairings, but before I do that, I need to sort out one last thing, and that's this exhaust, guys. We still have all of this damage over here, and this is just gonna ruin the look when we fit our fairings on. So I'm gonna take both of these off, take them to Stealth Performance, and get them looking right. Exhaust is coming off. I thought this was gonna be easy. Wow, guys. I took off the springs over there and I've been banging this thing non-stop, trying to slide it out, only to find that this thing is welded right over there. So this is definitely not coming off from this pipe. So I think what I'm going to do now is to loosen up this clamp here and take the whole thing out and let the guys at Stealth Performance sort it out for me. Well, on go the springs again, but this clamp, this thing was so hard, I had to put some WD-40 to loosen it up. I took off the other side just to give it some time, then I came back right to it and it came off nice and easy. I took the exhaust to Stealth Performance and we could plan out how we wanted it to look like. I decided I'm going to keep the carbon end caps because I think those look really good. Then I could pick out the sticker that I wanted to put on the bike, and I decided to go with this one. Okay, so while the exhaust is getting sorted out at Stealth Performance, I think now would be a pretty good time to bring out the fairings. Ladies and gents, I give you the R1 fairings. And yes, another black R1. But I did warn you guys, I told you I love black fairings. I love a blacked out bike. It looks stealthy, it looks mean, it looks aggressive. And I think this one is gonna look even better with the black fairings on. Now, I didn't get these fairings brand new. I got them used and they were actually blue and white with a big Fiat sign on the side. I'll try to find a picture for you guys, but I didn't like that at all. Plus, they had a couple of cracks here and there, and I wanted to bring them back to life. And I've always wanted to put black on this bike, so I had to repaint them. And that's the other reason why I opted for used fairings, because I didn't want to buy something brand new only to have to repaint it again. But I'm happy with these, and you'll notice that I actually also got a headlight. So this headlight came with the fairings. It was a package deal, so there was no way I could pass out on that because I needed a headlight for this bike. So I got all of this for a really good price. But yeah, I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me ramble about these fairings. You want to see them on the bike, and trust me guys, I want the same thing. So let's go ahead and slap these fairings on the bike. I think I'm going to start with the headlight first, get all of that on and work my way back, and hopefully by the time we get to the tail section, our exhaust will be here. The face is going on first. I pre-assembled the headlights to the front fairing just to make my life a little bit easier. I'm gonna hold it on with some zip ties while I make sure that everything is plugged in correctly. Then I can secure the two relays onto the headlight and route the wires properly. I'm gonna throw on the mirrors to make this front end look more like a bike, but also to secure the front end in place. Each mirror has two bolts securing it onto the front stay bracket. And in hindsight, I should have put on the windshield first before putting on the mirrors. You guys will see why a little bit later. But once everything is on nice and snug, I can move on to the front fender. The fender is held in place with 3 bolts on each side, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. To secure it in the back, I need to attach these brackets that I painted. These are used to secure the brake lines in place so they don't flap around everywhere. The bracket goes on with 1 bolt, and it also secures the back part of the fender onto the fork. Once that's on, I can start throwing on the side plastics. First is this inner piece that bolts directly onto the frame. Then we've got this upper rear housing of the air duct. Now it's time for the main side piece. First I attach this little piece on the side of the headlight fairing. Then I can start bolting up the side fairing onto the bike. Now I'm gonna attempt to fit the windshield. Remember what I said earlier about putting the windshield on before the mirrors? This is where I start to realize. But hey, you live and you learn. I ended up loosening the mirror on the left side, and then I completely took off the one on the right side just so I can put the windshield on. And that seemed to work. And now once I was happy with the placement, I could start bolting everything up. Man, we're tracking so nicely. I've got the front pretty much all assembled. We've got the headlight on, we've got the front face on, the windshield, both mirrors on, the side, the mud guard, everything went on really nicely. And I was getting ready to put this lower piece of the fairing on, but I noticed that this bracket over here is bent. So I need to bring this back so that this guy can hook onto it. And then I want to throw on these flush mount turn signals on this side over here. I think these will go nicely. They're smoked, so they'll blend in nicely with the fairing, and you'll only see them when they're on. And then while I'm on the front here, I want to take off these fork adjuster caps. They're beat up and they're blue. There's literally nothing on the bike that's blue, so I got these red ones because I figured let's just keep them, but let's have them red so they match the rest of the bike with the red accents. I've actually never had these on any bike, but I figured since they're here now, let's just put them back, but in a different color that matches the bike. And I think they look super stunning. I'm gonna try to reuse this bent bracket by straightening it. Since it's a very thin metal, I think it'll bend back nice and easy. And it did. Once I've got it lined up, I can bolt on the inner side fairing piece onto it. Now let's throw on the lower side fairing piece. I'm going to use these special bolts from Yamaha to join these side pieces together. Unlike traditional bolts that screw in all the way, these bolts actually lock in place onto the clip. Let's get these on. Now I'm going to move on to the front turn signals. I'm only going to put this on temporarily because I'm missing some connectors. Moving on to the left side, the air duct is going on first. Then I've got the side duct piece, followed by the inner fairing piece. Then I can start bolting up the main side fairing piece. I had to make some adjustments to the inner side fairing piece, but in the end I got it spot on. Now I can throw on the lower fairing piece. This just connects to the other lower side fairing piece in the middle and then bolts up again at the back. You guys are not gonna believe what I just picked up. Check that out, guys. Our exhaust is back. I'm dying to open this thing up and throw it on the bike. Let's have a look at this thing. Reinstalling these is very straightforward. All I had to do was tighten up a clamp and hook up some springs. And that was it. Wow, guys. Wow. I am out of words. This exhaust is perfect. This thing suits the bike. The black, the red, the silver, guys. This thing is perfect. I can't believe this is the exact same exhaust, guys, just refurbished. Massive shout out to Stealth Performance exhaust. This thing, I'm just out of words, guys. This thing is perfect. It's beautiful, and I can't wait to now ride this thing around with that exhaust. If you guys want to get yourselves something like this or even something different, check out Stealth Performance, guys. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I'm a massive fan of great products, great service, and just, I mean, look at this thing, guys. And it's made right here in South Africa. You can't beat that, guys. Again, guys, massive shout out to Stealth Performance. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can find them. But now that we've got that exhaust on, guys, we can finally start assembling and piecing together the rear subframe basically the tail section, and start making this thing look whole, guys. Because yes, in the front it's coming all right, it's looking like a bike, but that part needs to be sorted out. So let's get to it. We're nearing the end. This tail piece was supposed to be one of the easiest pieces to put on. For some reason, it took me way longer than it should. It kept getting caught on something and I couldn't really see what it was. And because of that, I couldn't get the bolts to line up 100%. But eventually, I managed to see what the issue was and I managed to get it to fit 100%. Now I can move on to the upper tail piece. Before I put this on, I first need to transfer the lock from the old piece onto the new one. Once that's moved over successfully, I can now put the fairing on the bike. I got a brand new pillion seat for this bike, but in order to make it work, I need to transfer some of the hardware from the old seat onto the new one. And that's what you'll see me doing here. Seat is on and the lock is working perfectly. Now it's time for the last pieces to go on, which are these side fairing pieces, followed by the seat. Well, the Big Bang is finally put together, guys, and it looks stunning. It's definitely what I envisioned when I started this project. I wanted to go full black with a touch of red, and you guys will see why in the next 2023 R1 video. But overall, I'm happy, guys. There's a few little things that I wanted to touch on and sort out, but I think I'm gonna leave all of that for the next episode. For now, I think I just want to savor the moment. But with that being said, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, guys. It's been a ton of work putting this thing together and getting it to this stage. I hope you guys enjoyed the journey, you enjoyed every moment, and maybe you picked up a thing or two. But yeah, let me know what you think about the build in the comments, guys. Like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.